Right now, I have three TVs behind me, the Xiaomi TV 4S, iFFALCON 71 and Prism Q55. And when you put them together, you can tell which TV is good at what. It's very, very clear. First, let's look at the type of panel and its differences. We have IPS panel on both Prism and Xiaomi and VA panel on the iFFALCON. VA panel usually has a high contrast ratio and narrow viewing angles. However, on IPS panel, it has a low contrast ratio and wider viewing angle. But I like VA panel for one reason. Contrast ratio is an important factor for picture quality. Here is a black uniformity test with a white cross on a black screen. Ideally, you should see black, but I'm seeing bluish black on the Xiaomi and grayish black on Prism TV. This is also because of low contrast ratio on IPS panels. Also with IPS, you get some sort of uniformity issues with backlight bleeding and clouding throughout. On the Prism, you see a bit of blooming around the cross and on the rectangle. But on the iFFALCON, it's much more uniform. The cross is so much clearer and hardly any backlight bleeding. Generally, VA panels are far superior compared to IPS panel in terms of contrast ratio. So it depends on you. Do you want better viewing angles or do you want better contrast ratio? Let me move the camera around. Honestly, I don't see that the viewing angle is that narrow as compared to IPS, but you be the judge. And I will say this, a lot of high-end TVs are using VA panels, but probably a different grade, I'm sure. I will show you a list here and also link it in the description box below. But in terms of motion accuracy, I would say that Xiaomi and Prism handled the motion really well. So over the weekend, Prism sent me the new Q55-QE version. In this model, they took out the MEMC, which means it's not as fluid as the old Q55 TV. Why? Why? Next, we will look at the 4K samples. From far, everything looks really good, but let's zoom in on the bubbles here. A bit of details lost on the Prism, and if I compare to the iFFALCON and Xiaomi, it seems like there's a bit more saturation towards orange on the Prism. iFFALCON and Xiaomi have similar yellow hues. You know what's funny? Prism's newer QE55 model has similar tone to Xiaomi and iFFALCON now, making the old Q55 look way too saturated. But it seems that the contrast and highlights are lower than it should be if I benchmark it with the Xiaomi IPS panel. By the way, this QE model has a new IPS panel called QIPS. So according to them, it should give you better color accuracy, but it's not true. I purposely moved the QE over so we can compare it together. First question, do you feel the color is better? I do think it lost its brightness and colors there, but let's see if we can bring up the colors to match. So let's bring up the brightness. So if I move it a little bit, the black becomes more faded. So definitely brightness is out. But let's try moving up the saturation. Okay, definitely the colors look much better now. So maybe we'll keep it at 65. We move up the contrast. Yeah, it looks a bit better. Maybe stay at 60. See, we can increase a bit of brightness. A bit faded. Okay, maybe keep it at 55. Okay. It looks better, but let me just show you the before. So if I move it to standard, this is just now, and then I move it back to what I adjusted. This part is very disappointing. I don't understand why they released a QE version where the brightness is actually lower than the old Q55. Before you continue, I want you to know that I'm partnering iFFALCON to produce this video. First, I tested iFFALCON for close to 2 months. I really like the VA panel and I think you guys will like it too. Second, Prism. A lot of people praise and complain about Prism at the same time, so today we'll compare it with iFFALCON and Xiaomi and you can decide for yourself. So this video is not to bash anyone. If it is anything, it is to make brands work harder and produce better goods for consumers. Okay, I repositioned the TV because I want to talk about one more thing. And I studied this footage over and over again. I put it all on 4K. I put it on the same frame as close as possible. Okay, on the Q55-QE, I don't like that. It's a bit bluish considering that the other three TVs captured the color really well. This one appeared a bit more bluish and it looks quite okay, the sharpness and the contrast. For the Prism Q55 older model, I find that a lot of sharpness is lost here, and also there's a bit too much highlights. And I guess that's where, it lost its sharpness too. But overall, I do feel that this TV, sharpness is the weakness. And on the Xiaomi TV, I feel that it's well balanced in every aspect. Of the four TVs, I feel that iFFALCON is the strongest in terms of sharpness. You just look at the details here, Maybe you can't tell from the camera because my camera makes everything sharp, but I am telling you what I'm seeing on the iFFALCON. It is very sharp and detailed. So where is the problem here? The problem is with the blue. So there's a bit of blue tint that you don't see on other TVs, and I think you might be able to correct it in the settings. So go to picture. Go to advanced, go to color. Yeah, you can remove dynamic color. And now it looks quite good. Oh, I just got to point out one more thing on both Prism TV is that the menu controls on Netflix, it's a bit blurry, and the subtitles as well. And it's so much clearer on the other two. So I don't understand. Why is that so? If you look at the iFFALCON subtitles, it's so much sharper. I really can't accept anything that is blur, but let's bring up the menu controls. Look, it is good as well. Same thing with Xiaomi, it's also very sharp. So this is what I expect. If I buy a 4K TV, I expect the TV to be 4K, I expect the menu controls to be 4K, the video to be 4K. That to me is acceptable. And one thing unique about this iFFALCON TV is it has features that the rest of the TV don't. For example, micro dimming, which is only seen on higher end TVs. And I explained that in my previous video, the iFFALCON review. Go watch it if you haven't. Second, this feature about the far field mic. You are able to trigger Google just using your voice. You don't need to press on this button anymore. You don't need a Google Home Mini on the table. Okay, last part is not that important, but if you're particular like me, you will find that the placement of the ports is very important. And I want to say that, iFFALCON as a new brand, they really get it. They have all their ports at the side, which is so easy to access. Because if you mount the TV onto the wall, it's very difficult to access the ports if it's coming out from the back or the bottom, which is the case for Xiaomi. It's on the bottom and on the side. And then for Prism, it's shooting out behind. So when you mount the TV onto the wall, it's gonna bend. So why? I don't understand. And then on a QE model, they changed to the side, which makes perfect sense. Last part, I did ask you guys to give me some feedbacks on IG. So a lot of you said that the Prism TV will auto switch on at times. I had the Xiaomi for a year and then the Prism for about a month. I haven't experienced this so far, else it would be really creepy. But because I didn't experience it, I can't really comment on it. And I did ask Prism for their comments. They said that they acknowledged the problem on the E55 series for Prism, and the newer models shouldn't have that problem. So if you do, feel free to contact them, or you can comment it down in the comment section below, share it with everyone so we can all benefit from it. And also I saw a lot of feedbacks about backlight bleeding for Prism online. Well, you gotta understand 2 points. First, this is the nature of IPS panel, low contrast and mediocre black uniformity. Second, welcome to the TV panel lottery. There is no guarantee that you will get a very good IPS panel. Considering this price point of the TV, it's really hard. But seriously, it's upsetting to see these feedbacks about Prism. I hope they will listen to the customers and work on it. Well, to summarize, all TVs got their good and bad points. It really depends on your own requirements. What are you looking for within this price point? My role here is just to lay it out for you with my own opinions, and you decide for yourself.